They say a week is a long time in politics.
Yeah.
This time last year, Reform were polling at about 15%. Now they're polling into the 30%. It can be done. We've got another 4 more years to the general election. We will see.
Yeah.
In 2029, any new coming government will have to hit the ground running, as Donald Trump did in America. So on the first day any new government takes power, there's going to have to be a Great Repeal Act. There are so many laws that we've signed up, so many international conventions. These all need repealing and revoking on day one so that we can get on and run our country as a sovereign country. Well, 4 days before the general election, Nigel Farage was under so much pressure on Question Time on a Friday evening. And then to top it off, Fiona Bruce mentioned my name with some clipped X posts. I'd put out thousands and thousands of posts on X, but somehow they managed to find some obscure ones from a year or two before and made out you some kind of crazy racist type. And Farage just there and then said that Edward Oakenfull is out of the party. So effectively I was sacked there and then on a Friday evening live on television. A great orator and a great thinker, Ben Habib, has come along and is starting a new political party. Ben, I have so much admiration for him. The man is more British than most British people. He absolutely adores this country, our history, our culture, and I'm so impressed as him as a human being. We are fed up. We want the whole of Britain to be part of this party. Northern Ireland at the moment is subject to European Union rules. Nigel Farage has come out and said that he's in favour of a united Ireland someday. I'm not. I want Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales and England to be part of the United Kingdom forever, really.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the World of Momos podcast. And on this episode of Reflections and Reactions, we have a returning guest with us, a man whose surname I really like, Edward Oakenfull. And what we are going to talk with Edward today about is sort of what happened with Reform Party, because he was standing as a candidate for them. We will talk about the British PAC, and we will also talk about Advance UK, with whom he is now. We did an earlier episode in the last one. We talked about Edward's sort of like background, his life, sort of brief life history and stuff like that. So you can check that out. I'll put the link up for that above here and in the description as well. And today we're going to sort of take on from that conversation and what has happened since then. So hi there, Edward. How are you?
Very good, thanks, Mo. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. So tell us, let's just straight away, let's get into it. You're standing as a Reform candidate. First, tell me how much they didn't support you, and how much, if they would have supported you, what you would have done. Where did you come in eventually in the elections, like which behind whom and stuff like that?
It's almost embarrassing, Momus. We had no support whatsoever, no training, nothing at all. We were thrown in at the deep end. 12 months before the general election, I was given almost a blank piece of paper and a database called Nation Builder with names and emails and phone numbers of people within my constituency, Derbyshire Dales, that I diligently worked that database and got in touch with loads of people and actually built up a whole branch network up and down Derbyshire Dales, a big rural county. But no assistance whatsoever from head office. I never went on a training session, nothing at all. There were no procedures that we had to follow, nothing at all. Everything was just left to us on the ground. Most of my own money went into the campaign, although I had several quite large donations from people who were donating directly to my campaign. The money was ring-fenced within the Reform bank account, sent to that bank account. People signed to that effect. Yet when I was thrown out the party, that money just seemed to disappear. I was happy to donate it to the future branch for Derbyshire Dales, but this money's just gone into some big coffer somewhere of Reform and disappeared. Yeah.
So how did you do eventually in the elections? Who actually won that seat?
Yeah, I got 7,728 votes in the end.
That's not bad.
I was third.
Mm,
This is in one of the safest Conservative seats in the whole country. The
mm.
Conservatives did actually lose by a very narrow margin to a Labour candidate who was incredibly surprised to have won the seat.
Yeah.
I think he holds some sort of record in Parliament.
Mm.
He's got some of the fewest speeches that's ever been made in the House of Commons. So that's how ill prepared he was for the job of becoming a member of Parliament for Derbyshire Dales.
Mm. I mean, obviously.
And at the count as well, I thought it was really amusing.
Mm,
Sarah Dines,
mm.
the outgoing Conservative MP, came up to me at the end after the count had been done, and she said to me, "Edward, oh, Edward, I hope you're pleased. You've got a socialist elected in Derbyshire Dales." I came straight back to her and said that we already had that with you and your party,
Yeah.
Sarah.
Yeah,
Which I thought,
that is what I was going to say. Like, a lot of people would say, like, oh well, if you didn't stand, then we'll still have a conservative. Um, my point, like my personal point as well, is like to fix the country. I think so. Eventually, we will have to reform the Tories, but that has to happen. You can't reform someone, like you can't really ask someone to change everything about themselves and return to their roots unless they have been at their lowest. And Tories have not been at their lowest, right? They have to be pushed at their lowest for their survival instincts to kick in, and then they will eventually do that because they are the oldest party. So eventually that is going to happen at some point, but not now, not the next elections as well. They still haven't learned. When they, like, got Kemi in leadership, that was a clear indication that they still haven't learned, right? So
box
when
ticking,
I
isn't it?
talk about when I talk about in favor of conservatives and the Tory party, I think so I'm talking about 10-15 years down the line. So people sort of think like, oh, you must be like a conservative member now. It's like, no, I'm talking about way down the line. Things need to happen to them. Things need to happen to the country for people to actually wake up in all that sphere. If Reform Party would have actually backed you properly, then that would not have been the case. You could have won, right? Or you would have taken more seats at least from the labor as well. Like, if they would have done their due diligence, if they would have backed you, right? So that's a point that I've seen as well. There were so many seats. Don't you think like there were like 90 or so seats that Reform could have won if they actually did the work?
Yeah, there was virtually no support from head office whatsoever.
Hmm.
The thing that epitomises it for me, Momus, is that we had a free mail out as well. Everybody on the electoral register just before the general election, every party got to mail out
Hmm.
through the Royal Mail a direct
Hmm.
marketing leaflet. There was no mention of local candidates up and down the country. The leaflet, all it comprised, on the front of it was a big picture of Nigel Farage and some of
Obviously.
the things. Of course, it had to have Farage, the narcissist that he is,
Yeah.
and then on the back, Richard Tice. So that's the only two candidates, effectively, that Reform supported. Rupert Lowe managed against all the odds to get elected.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's
nothing.
really frustrating. It's so frustrating because people are saying like they have and we will be more constructive with reforms bashing, right? But it's just frustrating because they have captured the imagination of the people, they have captured the attention of the people, and then they are just spoiling that, right? They are just, even in the local elections, what really got my goat was, um people were saying, okay, they have won a lot of local seats. Like, all of their local candidates have not won those seats on local policies, on local issues. They're talking about national issues which these local people have no relevance on or able to affect that, right? But they are
There were
not
also
standing on
lots
local issues.
There were also lots of paper candidates. In my
Mm,
own area, Derbyshire, there were people that had only just joined the party a couple of weeks before. Somehow they passed vetting because they were so dull and boring. They'd never said anything or done anything, and they were put on the ballot paper. And a lot
yeah,
of these people got elected, for goodness sake.
yeah.
They've got no talent
They,
for
they
running
won't know what to
anything.
do.
Yeah, they did.
And,
And of
and
course,
they are
lots
actually a
resigned.
blueprint. Aren't they a blueprint for reform if they come into power? That they wouldn't have a clue.
I don't want to rubbish them all. There are a lot
Mm,
of very good people, and I've got a lot of very good friends
mm,
still within Reform. But very tainted. A lot of these people really have no idea how to run anything, have no history of running anything. A lot of them are malleable and controlled by the regional managers. That is a lot of it again. Why these people are in the business.
mm. So tell me what did reform did to you then, following from that?
Well, 4 days before the general election, Nigel Farage was under so much pressure on question time on a Friday evening. There was a handpicked audience of lefties that were bombarding him with very awkward questions. He was under so much pressure. And then to top it off, Fiona Bruce mentioned my name with some clipped X posts that I'd put out thousands and thousands of posts on X, but somehow they managed to find some obscure ones from a year or two before and made out you some kind of crazy racist type, which certainly is not the case. And Farage just there and then said that Edward Oakenfull is out of the party. So effectively, I was sacked there and then on a Friday evening live on television. No ifs or buts, no appeals, nothing.
I mean, this is the guy that people think is the hope for the country, who gets actually
Complete,
run around by media.
completely thrown under a bus. I was,
Yeah.
Momus, and my party knew about these tweets back in March when the press secretary for Reform had dealt with these, and we just battered them off and said that people are allowed free speech and Edward's allowed to
Yeah.
say these things. He's not committing any crime against the law. And the party knew about it in March of that year, but they'd let me stay on, and then Farage sacked me 4 days before the general election. Appalling management by Reform, in my opinion.
It's and they've done that to so many people as well.
I'm not alone. There are literally hundreds of people like myself before the election and after that have been thrown under a bus.
So, what did the local branch sort of people within Reform? What was their reaction?
I think that a lot of them were very shocked. Some were disappointed. A lot of them have stood by me.
Mm,
Since that, I have to be. I can't. I have to be careful about what I say because we've got a very voracious regional manager that could pick up on this and then start going after people depending on what I say. But no, I've still
mm,
hopefully got a lot of support within the area.
yeah, it's were you made to sign an NDA like before you could stand up as a candidate or anything of that sort? Because
I
I've
didn't have
heard
to
like
sign
the
an
yeah,
NDA at that time,
yeah,
but the new rules for branch managers and their team have just come out, and they are just pure draconian.
mm,
People have got to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements.
mm,
Um, they're not allowed to be on various Facebook pages or WhatsApp groups. The regional manager has to spy on them. Any people that come to speak at their branches has
mm.
to be vetted by the regional manager. And there's a get out clause at the end of it all that the regional manager isn't party to these rules. So the regional manager doesn't have to abide by them. So
Oh, wonderful.
morale is rock bottom in the branches. A lot of
Yeah,
people are looking to resign.
yeah.
All good people that have achieved things in their lives aren't going to
Mm.
put up with that kind of
No, no. This is
nonsense.
exactly what we're fighting against, right? This sort of high censorship and stuff. So how people were saying, oh, reform might be Tory 2.0, but actually reform or Labour 2.0 or Liberal Democrats
Even
2.0 to that
worse,
extent.
Momus.
Hmm.
Even worse. They are very much a totalitarian party. There's no
Hmm.
free speech. There's
Hmm.
several subjects that are off
Yeah.
off limits. You cannot talk about Islam. You cannot talk about
Hmm.
free speech. Tommy Robinson.
Hmm.
And a warning: any reform branch chairs or staff that are thinking of going to that march on the Freedom March on Unite the Kingdom March on the 13th of September. Beware, because if you're seen there, you will be thrown out of the Reform Party. And
So they basically
imagine
have
these
to
guys.
go masked up.
Imagine these guys in government if they run their party like a
Yeah.
totalitarian state. I dread to think how they're going to run the country.
Yeah. Yeah. It just. Oh. I mean, so basically, a lot of people are now seeing this, right? People who are actually working and volunteering and like part of the branches, however many they might be, for reform, they're seeing this. They don't have. This was always the case for a lot of candidates, even like yourselves, who were signing up. There wasn't any other alternative, right? So we'll come to the alternative part a bit later. But if there is an alternative, do you see a lot of these people who are working, who are like good people, right? Not talking about the paper candidates, but people who are actually doing the groundwork, who are actually trying to run the branches and whatnot. Do you see them actually, you know, leaving reform?
I think a lot will do. They're just waiting for a new entity to emerge, and that
Mm,
new entity, I feel, is Advance UK, which I'm sure we're
mm,
going to talk about.
yeah.
A lot of people that have been elected, that I've talked to, reform candidates that got elected, feel loyal, get this loyalty in politics. This is a unique one, isn't it? They feel
Mm,
loyalty to the people that put them there. They got
yeah.
elected on reform tickets. So there are
Mm,
some people that don't feel that they should be jumping ship. They're going to stay with it.
mm,
So there is that aspect to it. But it
yeah.
just depends how much abuse they get from head office that makes them want to walk in the end.
I think so. People should concentrate on loyalty to the country over loyalty to parties. Because
There
if a
are there
party
are
is like
some
it, we're not at that point.
some of these people feel that if they do jump ship and go to another party, that they should resign and trigger a by-election and then try and get re-elected under the new ticket, which
Hmm.
is we're seeing
I
all
mean,
these.
reform is not playing by their rules. So why
No.
should other people do? Because reform is just getting Tories in, and not even the Tories who actually are Tories, right? They're
Yeah.
getting the Liberal Democrat Tories in, which maybe the Conservative will be happy to let them go.
I've
Yeah.
even seen a county councillor that's flip-flopped between several different parties. At one time, she was part of the Socialist Worker Party, Lib
Oh, nice.
Dems, Greens, and now she's a Reform local councillor. What on earth has that got to do with being a
Yeah.
reform candidate? Some of these are political opportunists. They're just thinking about their own careers.
Hmm. But like that's why they match with Farage, I guess. So tell me about GBPAC, because then you were kicked out of the party for having opinions, right? So what about like what made you join GBPAC, and what is GBPAC, and what are they doing?
Well, we can complain about this government and its awful decisions that it's making and how it's betraying the people of this country. And we can complain about it till the cows come home. I personally don't think there's any mechanism to get rid of this government until 2029. So we've got another 4 more years of this atrocious government. In the meantime, though, we can do a lot of things. The Great British PAC is a pressure group. We can slow some of these awful decisions down that the government's making, both locally and nationally. We're involved in all sorts of campaigns. The big one at the moment, and it's hit the headlines again this morning, is the Chagos Islands, the Great British
Mm,
PAC. I interviewed one of the former islanders, Misley Mandarin, his name is. He was actually born in Mauritius. After the British got rid of all the natives from the island, he was actually born in Mauritius. But he is and his whole family and his history is tied up with the Chagos Islands. Um, those people have just been betrayed by this Keir Starmer government. They're talking about Keir Starmer tried to make out that it was only going to cost £3.5 billion only of taxpayers' money to give up the islands to Mauritius when we don't need to give up these islands, British sovereign territory, and then rent them back from Mauritius at 3.5. But it's now emerging; it's £35 billion over the
wow.
next 100 years. Just staggering. So you're actually giving up your house, Momus, and
Yeah.
then agreeing to rent it back and telling people what a great deal this is. This is how.
Yeah.
So Great British PAC has been involved in raising money for a judicial review. We've been involved in campaigning outside of House of Parliament, assisting Muslim Mandarin and the Chagosian community in this country. Um, lots of activity to try and highlight this awful deal, even involving trying to get in touch with the Americans, Marco Rubio's department in America, to highlight they've got the Diego Garcia base there. There are senators in America that are looking at this to try and slow it down and stop it altogether. So that's what the Great British Pack is all about. Yeah.
Does it operate as so it's sort of mainly operates as a think tank and a pressure group that writes policies or pushes it?
All of the above.
Hmm.
We've got some cases on the job looking at. We feel that we need a total rethink of how we do government.
Hmm.
In 2029, any new coming government will have to hit the ground running as Donald Trump did in America. So on the
Hmm.
first day any new government takes power, there's going to have to be a Great Repeal Act. There are
Yeah.
so many laws that we've signed up, so many international conventions. These all need repealing and revoking on day one so that we
Hmm.
can get on and run our country as a sovereign country. At the moment, we are governed by all sorts of foreign courts, European Court of Human Rights, etc. All this needs to stop on day one. No legal aid for foreigners so that we can deal with our own borders and get sovereignty back for our own country.
Hmm.
So again, the Great British Pack are working on a formula for all of that.
So like this is not obviously my opinion, but like what if the when people say, oh, that Restore Britain is there, who's supposed to do the same sort of thing, so what is the point of GBPAC?
We do the
What would
same
you say to
thing.
that?
We do the same thing, and I personally would like to see us join together and
Mm.
join forces. But Restore are doing some great work on other areas. We're doing work on certain areas.
Mm.
We're all patriots. We all believe that our country is being sold away and
Mm.
giving away so much money to foreign entities that we need to retain that money here and deal with that, look after our own people first.
Yeah.
So Restore complement what we're doing, and I'd like to think we complement what they're doing.
Mm. I mean, also there's this point as well that there's so many things that are wrong, right? There's no one entity cannot fix it on their own, and you never only need like one entity. You need multiple think tanks to produce policy in specialist areas, right? You can't be a specialist in every single area, right? And so that they can present that to the government can, the sitting government can actually, look at it, have their policy advisors look at it, like, and then try to implement it if it's good, like, take it from different places. So let's say, let's say a reformed Tory 15-20 years down the line are formed, right? Like with Thatcher, she, consulted with think tanks. She took, policies from them, and then, they got implemented eventually. So she could take something from Restore Britain on like, let's say, illegal migration or whatever. If they're doing, they can take something from you guys about Chagos Island, right? Or they could take something about whatever, like, you have a policy about, I don't know, like, cat branding, cattle branding, or whatever there might be, right? So you can take from different places, and this is why you need different, these think tanks, these pressure groups, who can, help with the policies, because there's so many different things. Just like,
I also think we've
go
become
on, yeah.
so polarized as a society. The left won't talk to the right won't talk. Why not have a
Hmm.
debate and talk and discuss these
Yeah.
things? You mentioned that I read The Guardian and other left wing periodicals, and
Hmm.
on X now, where I've just returned to, I'm also looking at other people's opinions, and maybe we can come to a compromise, and
Yeah.
instead of being at each other's throats on all these issues.
Yeah. Instead of being like so tribal, like, oh, this is left, this is right, so like you're basically going to cut off your arm in spite of the other, like that's not a good deal. Like, you have to see, like, you have to take some policies. It doesn't matter whether they fall under political right or political left, as long as they fall under what benefits the interests of the British public the most, you know that's what you go with. So, like, let's say something about nationalizing the railways, right? So that actually might fall under the benefit of the British public, because we can see the private companies are actually, you know literally taking the piss, hiking up the we have the highest, like, most expensive train tickets and stuff. So there's something that has completely gone wrong. Let's think of a solution. Is the solution to nationalize it, or is the solution to half nationalize it? Whatever the solution might be, let's not, like, just say, oh, these are the solutions that are left wing, so I'm not going to touch them. Just to explore everything. What is in the benefit of the British public is to bring down train ticket prices, so there's more mobility of people, so people can work in cities while not having to live in the cities as well. There's just, and not just the cities, there's just more mobility of the workforce. That would be the benefit. So let's think of
We
a
could
way.
put the world to right, couldn't we, Momus?
Yeah. Hmm. So moving on from that, so you joining a GBPAC. So take me through the process of the Advanced UK. When did you decide to join them up, or was it a natural progression for you anyways?
Very much a natural progression.
Hmm.
And as we've talked about earlier in our conversation, a lot of people think that the Conservatives have had 14 years. They've
Hmm.
been pretty much been a continuation of Tony
Yeah.
Blair's New Labour. Then people at the general election piled into Labour, thought the Labour can't be any worse than these Conservatives. And look what's happened. The last 12 months of this government have been, every decision they made, for my way of thinking, has been completely dire. They're destroying
Hmm.
the country. Reform, as we've talked about, is so tainted. It's just the Nigel Farage and Mohammed Zia Yusuf show, very much run along the totalitarian lines. A great, great orator and a great thinker, Ben Habib, has come along and is starting a new political party. Ben, I have so much admiration for him. His father was from Pakistan. His mother was British, so he's half British, you could say, under whatever definition you want. But the man is more British than most British people. He absolutely adores this country, our history, our culture. The passion he has for our nation is incredible. And I'm so impressed as him as a human being. He set up Advance UK with several of us that are involved with this political party. We are fed up. We want the whole of Britain to be part of this party. Northern Ireland at the moment is subject to European Union rules. Nigel Farage has come out and said that he's in favour of a united Ireland someday. I'm not. I want Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales and England to be part of the United Kingdom forever, really.
Isn't that actually a very worrying thing for Farage to say, like, he sees a united Ireland at some point? That's
Yeah.
just the same thing as Labour, isn't it? Like, giving away our territories.
Yeah. What next? The Falkland Islands, are they going to be given away?
Yeah.
Gibraltar, is that going to be given away? Maybe parts of Cornwall want their own independence. Do we give that up?
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope. And I believe firmly in the United Kingdom staying together as one entity, and passionate about that. There's also freedom of speech and minimal interference from government. I want every week now we're getting more laws and regulations on what we can say and what we can do in this country. I think there's a whole repealing of hate crime legislation that needs to be done out there. The two-tier justice, if you're a particular community from a small minority community, you get preferential treatment over certain other communities. No, we're all the same. Free speech should be allowed, whatever community you're from. There's also the democracy side of things. Government has set up all these quangos, all these experts that cost billions of pounds, of course. We want to get rid of all these quangos, make Parliament accountable. That's why these politicians love the European Union, because they could say, oh, it's not us, it's the European Union.
Yeah. Yeah.
All these international conventions we signed up, the European Court of Human Rights, etc. No, I want the judges in this country to make decisions. I want the politicians in this country to make the decisions. I don't want us to be part of all these international conventions that have given away our sovereignty and our freedom. There's the equality of law. I'm absolutely fed up with the two-tier justice system. Again, Advance stand for all these big four issues of the day. And that is what drew me to this party.
Yeah. And so, how are you involved with the party? Are you thinking of being a future candidate when when it comes to 2029, and when Advance UK have actually, because you can't stand for Advance UK right now as it's not registered as a party yet, but it's getting there. Within like what couple of months, it's already got 25,000 plus members. Is getting to that self-imposed number of 30,000 as soon as possible. That would be done, hopefully. I think so, within a month or so.
I mean, this
And
is
then,
staggering in itself, Momus.
yeah.
Reform, when they went into the general election last year, had 30,000 members, which you're not actually you weren't a member of Reform. That you just paid money to a limited company at that time. Which I digress, but it makes an issue that it was. You're not an actual physical member. With Advance UK, you are a member. You get a vote on who becomes part of the college. The college then make up policy, and the college then decide who's going to stand in elections. So you are very much involved as a member. With Reform, you're just paying your money, and I'm not sure what you get in return for being a subscriber of Reform.
Yeah. Basically, whatever Farage says, that's what you're subscribing.
But I have a senior role within Advance. Announcements will be made in due course. I can't reveal the role at the moment, but it's a very senior role. Yeah.
Okay. So, but this is what I was saying as well. Like UKIP never had that many members. I don't think so. Even at that point, even after so much campaigning and whatever stuff like that, I don't think so. Even Reform Party would have had that many people, have the situation not be such created in the society that people were trying to cling on to whatever hope possible, right? If that wasn't the case, they would not have gone beyond 50,000 mark. So to see Advance UK at such an early stage, getting 25,000 plus, getting to that 30,000 members, for me personally, it makes all the smaller parties a bit redundant, because they aren't able to get that much numbers. Been operating for a long time. It's like, well, their members need to right now. Their members really need to have a hard think about it. Like, what is the point? If you want a party which is let's say, like, even if people don't think Advance UK will take the majority, right? Even if they don't think they'll take 400 seats, right? Even if you, as Advance UK, can take the same number of seats as Liberal Democrats, you've done the job, because you are a permanent force then within the British political scene, and a significant number of people to actually pressure through, right?
They
You
say
could
a week is
even
a
do
long
that
time
with
in
some people.
politics. They say a week is a long time in politics.
Yeah.
This time last year, Reform were polling at about 15%. Now they're polling into the 30%.
Yeah.
It can be done. We've got another 4 more years to the general election. We will see.
Yeah. And this is why I've been like very interested in Advance, because of the platform that they're giving. What Reform should have done, basically. This is what Advance UK is doing, what Reform should have done, and that's very interesting, and that's something that people really need to look into. Can you tell us a little bit about the future plans of Advance UK as soon as they hit the 30,000 mark? What do they intend to do? Because obviously policies have not been built up yet, because the college has not been formed yet. So,
In time, policies will be thrashed out.
Mm,
We've got some incredibly intelligent, smart people that have achieved great things in their life. Part of this going to be part of this college, and I'm sure we're going to have some great policies that are going to be coming up. We're also going to be able to create an infrastructure. The money that's coming in from 30,000 members, and
mm,
also Ben Habib is going to donate £100,000 to add to that. That
mm,
gives us a start. Maybe we will be able to have full-time staff, be able to organise marketing campaigns,
mm,
online campaigns, etc. There's also um, a big push after that then to set up branches within the 650 constituencies within the country. And
mm,
I'm convinced once you start doing that, a lot of people from reform will drift over or will be pushed out of reform. There's still desperate times within reform. I think a lot of people will resign and
mm,
then go over. Once Advance UK start polling in the national polls,
mm.
all bets are off. I think then the sky could be the limit, and I think we could really advance much higher and in the polling system. And also, I'd like to see Ben Habib in the jungle. I'm a celebrity. Get me out of here. I think the young people would love to. No, I'm only joking.
Yeah.
No.
Now, is there any, if let's say Advance UK is able to get that 30,000 members and able to register itself within this year, is there any intention of Advance UK competing in the local elections that are going to come up next year for all the regions that didn't take part because they were going through devolution processes? So there's a lot of, like, there would be I guess, like in my own county of Essex, which will be Greater Essex now, there'll be, like, for mayor of Essex and all of the other areas where the mayoral candidates will be needed. Is Advanced thinking of competing in that?
I would like to think so. There's also
Mm,
big elections in Wales for the Senedd to
yeah,
control
yeah.
Wales, Scotland as well, of course.
Mm.
Yeah, we'd love to see you on board. I could just Mayor Momus has got a kind of ring to it. I could just see it now, Momus. We're looking for great
Oh,
people to come on board, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Um, so, what else would you like to tell us about Advanced UK? Like, why should people join up?
we are what reform should be. We're a democratic, open party. We're a free speech party. Members can have their say in and have their input into how the party is run. The leader of the party, there is a proper mechanism to get rid of the leader if the leader's not doing a good enough job. With reform, there is not that. We're going to be a low tax, small government, free speech party. All those issues that I talked about, the end of two-tier policing, the end of activist judges and lawyers. We want a judicial system that is completely blind, that treats everybody equal. So that's why I would recommend everybody to join Advance UK as soon as they can, please, and recommend them to friends and family.
Okay, cool. I want to talk a little bit about Derbyshire, right? So, since because that's where you are, right? So, um, since Labour has come on, what has happened? Like, how worse it has been? What policies have happened? Are you aware of any local things that have happened which have affected the area? Like, just talk me through those little things.
Yeah, Derbyshire County Council elections saw Reform win the majority of the seats, so they got to form the government within Derbyshire County Council. There's a really good guy in charge. His name's Alan Graves. He's got a great deputy, Rob Rini, who both those two I get on really well with, and are good people. He's also got a good team below him. There's a
Mm,
Melandra Smith that's doing some excellent work, and Charlotte Hill on the transport side of things. Potholes are being fixed up and down our county. People are actually getting on with it. At the start of the Derbyshire County Council elections, there was a big issue over the pride flag, which has been banned from civic buildings.
Mm.
There was some resistance from some of the executive, but I think that's been quashed now, and they're looking at a big program of rationalising the way the council is run, saving money on all sorts of schemes. A lot of the net zero stuff is being scrapped. So hopefully there's not going to be any increase in the council tax next year. And I would like to see a reduction in the council tax. Why not? We've got some good people in charge. We don't need to be spending billions on all sorts. Derbyshire County Council prior to this even had a virtual foreign policy. What are they getting involved in foreign politics for? They should be concentrating on the county. So, a lot of good things happening there. And there are some good people in Derbyshire County.
That's really important to highlight, right? Because when we are criticizing reform, right, we're not criticizing the good people that actually work for reform.
Sorry, Mamus. Yeah, just charging up again.
Yeah, that's right. So it's very important to highlight this because when we're criticizing reform party, we're not criticizing the good people that work for the party. We're actually frustrated on their part because they could be enabled to do a lot more than what they're doing now if they had the proper leadership and proper support as an insurgent party should have, right? And a political philosophy, right? So it's now just incumbent upon these candidates to somehow like get in there and then do the work. It's not as if like they've been given these directions properly by the reform like sort of leadership to actually do this sort of good work. So
a lot of them are doing good work despite reform management.
Yeah.
A lot of these people are just keeping their heads down and trying not to get noticed by the regional manager, who is voracious. And you say one thing out of line, or you don't support her on something, you can be kicked out of the party just like that. But a lot of these good people are doing great work despite the headwinds that they've got from head office.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, like those people who are doing this work within Derbyshire, if some tweet came up, they would be fired regardless of how good work that they're doing. They'll be fired, and then it will undermine all the work that they have done because reform push them under the bus just to save their sort of name and their sort of brand or whatever they want to call it, right? So how much better it would be, if they were enabled by Advanced UK to actually implement these sort of things that they're doing in Derbyshire to do that in every single county. How much all our lives would become better because people don't pay attention at local elections or local politics that much, but those are the things that affect our life, day-to-day life, like the taxes and the potholes and local businesses being supported, the business rates, the renting at shopping malls. So that's why the shops are empty, because they're being charged so much. They don't have the all of those sort of things, they matter, because empty shops lead up to crime, the whole area being vacated by actual shop goers and stuff. It just one thing piles on after another. So it's important, the local elections. So I'm really glad to hear that.
The loyalty side of it with reform is just paper thin, because these branches up and down the country are not given any support by their head office, and they've got often voracious regional managers breathing down their neck, making every decision, not allowing them any free speech within their branches. A lot of these people are really upset, and there's a whole ready-made political party there ready to jump ship, I think, along with the hundreds of us that have been thrown out of reform in the first place.
What do you think the Labour MP in Derbyshire, what has she done? I don't remember. It is a she, right?
No, it's
you never know with Labour candidates.
John Whitby, his name is, yeah.
but yeah, what has the Labour MP done, and how are they trying to sort of undermine all this work?
he almost got elected by default because
Mm,
we had a Conservative member of Parliament who was not well liked and was not that well respected. She was fairly arrogant, um, and Labour just up and down the country had lots of people elected just by default. That people thought the
mm,
Conservatives
yeah.
they've had 14
Mm,
years, they've been
mm,
absolutely dire. Who else is there to vote for? Oh, there's this new party Reform. Maybe we'll give them a chance, or do we go with the tried and tested Labour Party? And they perhaps think, God, they can't be any worse. Let's go with the tried and tested party and Labour. People put an X in the those that bothered to vote. I think only 48% of the country actually bothered to go out and vote in the last general election. There's a whole
mm,
constituency there to go after
wow.
that to motivate and get them to vote for you. So yeah,
Mm,
I'm optimistic that Advance
yeah.
UK can change this around.
Yeah. And the Labour
Trust
MP,
towards
I'm pretty
that.
sure they haven't raised. He hasn't raised any Derbyshire related issues in Parliament. Anyways, I'm pretty sure about that.
No, very, very little. Like I say, I think he holds the record for the least amount of speeches made in the House of Commons within 12 months. Truly shocking, yet they're paid so much money to represent the people in their area.
Yeah. It's such a wonder for me, like how people like keep on voting for Labour. So what sort of loyalty are they clinging on to? Like, they don't care about you. Like, let's just move on.
I agree, Momus. I think it's changing. Politics is very much fragmenting in this country. I think at the next general election, it's I mean, we have first past the post, so it
Mm,
does lead to an actual government rather than coalitions. So I
yeah.
think for me, everything is to be played for in the next 4 years.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, Advanced UK, people should go out and have a look at them. I'll put the links in the description for Advanced UK. I'll put the links for GBPAC as well for people to go and see what kind of work they're doing, if they want to support them or not. That's up to the people. And yeah, I mean, as I'm sure, like Advanced UK is going to reach the 30,000 pretty soon. Hopefully, more and more people support them and then see like what happens with them, because we need a proper pushback, a proper unapologetic pushback towards the establishment to fix our problems and stop making excuses for them. We don't want just a populist person being driven, a party being driven by his narcissistic approaches. So yeah, I mean, best of luck to Advance UK, best of luck to you. Hopefully, when you have had that position, you can let us know about that as well, within Advance UK, when it can be revealed.
And Rupert Lowe, if you're listening to this video, can you come and join us and be a figurehead for us as well? I think bring the right together and be brilliant.
Yeah, I think so. If that is done, once Advance UK is registered, I think so people will start seeing that as a viable options. Like, it's time to unite against, behind one sort of banner. We don't have that much time.
In military terms, Advance UK is the political party, and Restore Britain is the movement.
Hmm.
It could be a great pincer movement, and then when there's a general election, we all come together and form one big entity and win the general
Yeah,
election and run the country.
I think so. That's a dream of so many people, but they're also so impatient. Like, people have to understand we still have 4 more years. So let's not be impatient. Let's build something from all angles. Like, to try to bring everyone together. So yeah, best of luck. And I'll put all your links as well, where people can find you in the description. And
Brilliant.
thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Mo. It's great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.